Hey there, and welcome back to the Equipping ELLs Podcast. I am Beth Vaucher, and I am so excited to kick off this brand new series with you. If you're feeling exhausted from the school year, but still want to make the most of these next few months for your English language learners, then you are in the right place. Because let's be real, right now, you have a choice. Are you going to just coast through these last few months, doing really whatever you can to get by? Or are you going to use this time to strategically give your ELLs the boost they need on their language journey? I really believe these last few months at the end of the year are such a powerful time because you've set up routines, you've built that relationship. This is where explosive growth can happen if you're really intentional about the work and the activities that you're doing. So I understand that you might be feeling like, I'm too tired for this. Trust me, I get it. This year has been beyond crazy and continues to be in a state of craziness. Okay. I understand that. You have so much on your plate. And so I get that the idea of adding one more thing might feel overwhelming. But if you've been around here, I hope you know that the last thing we want to do is to add anything else to your plate to make you feel overwhelmed. We're actually passionate about doing the opposite of helping you go from feeling overwhelmed to empowered. But here's the thing. This series is actually designed to help you work smarter, not harder. By narrowing our focus to what truly matters, language acquisition and the 4 essential language domains, that's really what matters, right? With our ELLs, we can ensure that the time we do have left is impactful and meaningful to our students. How does that sound? Now, I want to dive in and talk about why language domains matter, why language acquisition matters. So let's talk just for a second about language acquisition. Learning a language isn't just about memorizing words or answering multiple choice questions. It's about building a solid foundation that allows students to communicate effectively. And that foundation, it's built on 4 key language domains: listening, speaking, reading, and writing. These domains don't exist in isolation. They build on one on the other. So if you focus all your energy on trying to create strong writers, but your students are still struggling with listening comprehension, then you're going to hit a wall. Your students are really going to end up being frustrated, and you're going to feel frustrated because you're not seeing the growth of what you're expecting from them. So think about this for a second. If a student can't process spoken language, how can they speak it? If they struggle with speaking, how can they effectively express themselves in writing? The same goes for reading. If students don't have a strong vocabulary base, decoding words on a page is going to feel like an impossible task. Yet, oftentimes, I see teachers skipping over these really important foundational blocks of language learning because this is what they're meant to teach right now, because this is what they're told to teach. But it's going to leave you frustrated, like I said, and it's going to leave your students frustrated too. So in these next few months, where you put your focus matters. Your efforts can either strengthen the domain your students need the most support in, helping them grow in all areas of language, or waste your time and leave both you and your students feeling frustrated. And I know you don't want that. Now, how does this work in your classroom? Like I said, I don't want to add more to your plate. I do not want you to feel more overwhelmed. I want you to come away from this upcoming series feeling so empowered and realizing you're doing a lot that already is working. Maybe let's just tweak a few things and really make a stronger impact. So how does this work in your classroom? I know you've got a ton of other things that you have to fit in before the school year ends, right? State testing, end of the year assessments, grading, and everything else on your never-ending to-do list. So here's my challenge to you. As you complete those things, as you look and see what is coming up, what do I have to be teaching? I want you to think of how can you do those things with your language domains in mind. Okay, I know state testing, you just got to get through that, right? But what types of content lessons are you still planning to cover that you can keep? How can I address the language domains throughout this lesson? Now, the good news is you're not doing this alone. Like I said, I'm going to walk you through this upcoming series is going to break down each of the 4 language domains one by one. I'll share the essential knowledge you need, plus at least 3, sometimes 4, sometimes even 5 easy to implement routines that will help you differentiate like a pro without adding extra stress to your plate, right? Routines help us make sure we're doing what our students need from us. And once they get going and get set up, they can be running on the back end and we're not even worrying about, are we covering all the domains or not? It's going to work out that way. So that's what this upcoming series is all about. Now, you might be asking yourself, how do I even know which language domain my students need the most support in? Right? Because even if you look at access scores and see, okay, what domain was the lowest? Well, those are from a year ago now, those scores, and you probably haven't gotten the new scores that they just took those tests for. So it's really hard to judge that way. But here is how some simple ways you can really identify which of the language domains your students need more support in. So remember, it's listening, speaking, reading, and writing. So the first thing is 1, listen to your students. That is one of the best ways that you can really identify where to begin with the additional support and what domain. Think, are they struggling to follow verbal directions or understand classroom discussions? That's a sign they need more support with listening. Are they hesitant to respond in class, even though you've been together for months now? Or do they struggle to form complete sentences? Then they might need some help with speaking. Are they decoding words but not understanding the meaning? That points to challenges in reading comprehension. Are their written responses unclear, disorganized, or just overly simple? Maybe they're really repetitive. Maybe they need some scaffolding in writing. So the first thing, listen to your students, jot down notes in peer conversations, in conversations with you throughout the day. Start to gather that data. Even in a couple days, you can have a very confident idea of where your students are at and what they need support in. Another way is using informal assessments. Try quick check-ins, like asking students to summarize a story aloud, write a short response, or engage in a partner discussion. Again, prompt them with this and then go listen and take your notes. You'll really be able to identify where they need that support in. You can provide sentence frames to see how they construct responses in speaking and writing, so you can see how their output is. Sometimes it's hard for us to identify how strong are they in their listening comprehension, right? But we can see how strong their output is in speaking and writing. So giving them specific prompts to help you identify where they're at with those 2 domains. And then looking at their work. Skim through their writing samples, pay attention to how they interact in group discussions. If you do pull out and you really only see how they're doing when they're with you, giving that support, right, when you provide that scaffolded support, go and work with that homeroom teacher. See how their work is in the homeroom classroom and see which ways you can identify the domains that they need some additional support in first. Remember, it's all building blocks. So like I said, if you're spending a lot of your time on writing, but they're still working on their speaking skills, then go back and really focus in on activities where they're working on oral speaking before they're doing any writing. You might be able to sprinkle in some writing with those speaking activities, but the focus should be on strengthening the speaking domain. So once you start identifying these needs, you can tailor your teaching to provide the right kind of language support for each student. And again, group them together. Take the content you're working on and say, okay, this group, I want to really focus in on listening. So I'm going to have them listen to the story first 2 times. I'm going to have them, I'm not going to give you all those other routines because that's why you're going to listen to the next couple episodes that are coming out. But we're going to walk through that. What kind of listening routines can you set up? What kind of speaking, reading, writing, and really whatever grade level you teach, you're going to have some solid routines that you can put in place that are sure to give your students the support they need in each of the language levels. So here's what you can expect in the upcoming series. First, we're going to take a deep dive into the listening domain. This really is the foundation for all language learning and how you can help your ELLs become stronger listeners. I'm actually so passionate about developing the listening domain because without a strong listening foundation, none of the other domains will develop. I know that personally from my many years of learning Spanish, my Spanish comprehension listening skills were terrible. And so guess what? I never really did great at speaking and reading and writing. And once I really developed my listening ear, everything else became so much easier for me. So this is huge. I will share 3 to 5 easy routines that you can implement right away to ensure your students are consistently developing their listening skills no matter what lesson you're teaching. From there, we'll move on to speaking. We're going to break down why oral language is so critical for ELLs and give you practical strategies to build student confidence and fluency. Don't worry, you're going to get those 3 to 5 simple routines as well. That's going to help your students practice speaking every day without adding extra stress to your workload. After that, we'll tackle reading, exploring how to support comprehension, vocabulary growth, and decoding skills for your ELLs. Plus, you're going to get those routines that you can easily embed into your daily instruction to help students strengthen their reading abilities. Finally, we're going to wrap up with writing, showing you how to break down writing instruction into manageable steps for your multilingual learners. Of course, we'll be sharing 3 to 5 easy to implement writing routines that will keep your students practicing and improving their writing skills consistently. Each episode will not only highlight the importance of that specific domain, but it's also going to give you a toolkit of routines that will make sure you're targeting the domain your students need the most support in without reinventing the wheel every day. This is going to help you work smarter, not harder, because once you've identified the language domain where your student needs the most support, you'll have a set of go-to routines ready to go. As you plan lessons and teach, you'll already have those students top of mind as you incorporate these routines into your day, making your instruction more intentional and impactful. So, friend, I leave you with this. The time you have left this year is valuable. Make it count. Your ELLs can continue to grow, and you can support them in ways that feel manageable and effective. I can't wait to go on this journey with you. So hit that subscribe button, share this episode with a fellow teacher who needs this, and get ready to transform your language instruction one domain at a time. Until next time, keep doing the amazing work that you do.